Hello everyone, I am Savira. Welcome to today's lesson. Today we are going to look at the adjective clause. Are you guys ready? Well, let's get started. Here's a sentence. Let's read it together. Professor William Johnson, who gave the lecture yesterday, was a famous scientist. How many clauses do you think this sentence has? 2. Good job! The first clause is Professor William Johnson was a famous scientist. And the second clause is who gave the lecture yesterday. Now, let's break it down. A clause has a subject and a verb, right? And in the first clause, Professor William Johnson is the subject and was is the verb. And in the second clause, who is the subject and gave is the verb. Now, which one is the adjective clause? The second one. How do we know? Rule number 1. Look for relative pronouns like who, whom, which, that, or whose, or relative adverbs like why, when, or where. An adjective clause is also called a relative clause because it contains one of these words. In this clause, the relative pronoun is who. Relative pronouns can act as the subject of the adjective clause. For example, in this clause, the relative pronoun who acts as subject of the clause. An adjective clause works like an adjective in a sentence. Just as adjectives modify nouns or pronouns, adjective clauses also modify nouns or pronouns. So, the second rule is that adjective clauses typically describes the noun that comes before them. In our example, the adjective clause who gave the lecture yesterday describes Professor William Johnson. Alright, now it's your turn. Identify the adjective clauses in the sentences. You can pause this video and try to identify them. Let's review the answers. In the first sentence, the adjective clause is that describes animals because it contains a subject, that, and a verb describes. It also has the relative pronoun that, and the clause modifies the book. In the second sentence, the adjective clause is when the Olympic Games are held because it contains a subject, the Olympic Games, and a verb are held. It has a relative adverb when, and the clause modifies the year. In the third sentence, the adjective clause is that I served for the past 2 years because it contains a subject, I, and a verb, had served. It has the relative pronoun that, and the clause modifies the money. But what about that he had taken the money? Why it isn't an adjective clause? It has a subject, a verb, it also has relative pronoun that. Now, please look at the word before it. Denied is a verb, so this clause doesn't describe a noun. It acts as a noun. This makes it as a noun clause itself. So, now that you know how to identify adjective clauses, let's look at how to use the relative pronouns and adverbs we have mentioned. First, let's talk about who. Look at to these sentences. I have a friend. She buys all her books online. Now, let's combine these sentences by using the relative pronoun who. So they become I have a friend who buys all her books online. The relative pronoun who is used if it acts as a subject and the noun being described is a person. Second is who. Look at these sentences. I have a friend. I love her very much. Let's combine the sentences by using the relative pronoun who. So they become, I have a friend whom I loved very much. The relative pronoun whom is used if it acts as an object and the noun being described is a person. Third, we have that or which. Look at the sentences. The tree already has blossoms. It was planted last year. Let's combine the sentences by using the relative pronoun that or which. So they become, the tree that or which was planted last year already has blossoms. The relative pronoun that or which is used if it acts as a subject or as an object and the noun being described is a thing. And number 4 is preposition plus who. Anyway, can you mention some preposition you know? Great! So words like about, under, in, at, from, for, by, and many others are prepositions. Now look at the sentences. She paid the man. She had borrowed the money from him. Let's combine these sentences by using the correct relative pronoun. So they become, she paid the man from whom she had borrowed the money. If there is a preposition before the object and the object is a person, you should sieve the preposition and then the relative pronoun whom right after the noun being described. Number 5 is preposition plus which. Look at the sentences. She was wearing the coat. She had paid $2,000 for the coat. Let's combine these sentences by using the correct relative pronoun. So they become, she was wearing the coat for which she had paid $2,000. If there is a preposition before the object and the object is a thing, you should shift the preposition and the relative pronoun which right after the noun being described. Next, whose. Whose is the possessive form of who. It stands for his, her, its, their, or the possessive form of the noun. Look at the sentences. The doctor started to charge higher fees. His office was newly decorated. Let's combine these sentences by using the relative pronoun whose. So they become, the doctor, whose office was newly decorated, started to charge higher fees. The relative pronoun whose is used to show possession and is typically followed by a noun. Next is the relative adverb when. Look at these sentences. This is the year. The Olympic Games are held in this year. Let's combine these sentences by using the relative adverb when. So they become, this is the year when the Olympic Games are held. The relative adverb when is used if it acts as an object and the noun being described relates to time. Next is the relative adverb where. Look at the sentences. Here is the house. I live in this house. Let's combine these sentences by using the relative adverb where. So they become, here's the house where I live. The relative adverb where is used if it acts as an object and the noun being described relates to place. The last one is why. Look at this sentence. The reason why I am phoning you is to invite you to a party. The relative adverb why is used to explain reason for something. Alright everyone, so that's all a simple explanation about adjective clause. How was it? Pretty easy, right? And I've also prepared a summary of this lesson along with an exercise for you. Just scan the QR code at the end of the video to access it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this lesson helps you understand adjective clause better. See you next time. Bye bye.